You don't just get the black experience at the party. No, why don't you go ahead and have the black experience going home for the party? Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. You can email me at reese@reesewaters.com, and shout out to all the new members here on the channel. Today's nominee, New York Congressman Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler, according to photographs obtained by the New York Times, is the latest politician to join the Blackface clan, which he wore as part of a Halloween costume in the early 2000s. He was about 20 at the time at a campus social gathering dressed as Michael Jackson, which is something I'm going to have to address. But first, let's hear from the experts.
In 2006, Lawler dressed as Michael Jackson for Halloween when he was in college with a visibly darkened face. He doesn't dispute the authenticity of the images, but said, quote, "The ugly practice of blackface was the furthest thing from my mind. For anyone who takes offense to the photo, I am sorry." This controversy hits Lawler's re-election campaign right as he is locked in that incredibly close race. And it's one of several, as you well know, Basil Smikle in the state of New York. Lawler beat Sean Patrick Maloney by fewer than 2,000 votes in 2022. That's less than 1%. Can something like this, with 32 days to go, make a difference?
With Kamala Harris on the top of the ticket and Mondaire Jones, who's run a strong campaign, and hopefully he has an opportunity to hit hard on this particular issue, and I hope that there's an opportunity to raise some money off of this and say, look, this is why we need to get Mike Lawler out of this race. Because some people will say, you know, there wasn't an intention here, but let me talk about the intentionality of blackface. Somebody has gone out and bought makeup or polish and taken time to stroke their face with this makeup or polish, being careful to go around the eyes and around the ears and look themselves in the face and say, you know what, I'm happy and comfortable with the way that I look. There is nothing unintentional about that. My culture is not your costume.
I very much appreciate the point that he made about the intention. And I remember I had a difference of opinion with one of our other Black thought leaders about the effects of intention. But surely there are those that dress in blackface specifically with the intention of dehumanizing Black people. That's basically how blackface started, and shout out to Woodrow Wilson for normalizing that. But then you have a much larger subset of people that give absolutely no thought to the effect that it might have, or the fact that there are people who look like that who might feel a ways. And no, you don't get a pass on the impact, the ramifications, and the effect of your blackface because you just didn't imagine that it would affect other people. I wish that was a suitable excuse that I could give in a court of law. Yes, that is true. Yes, I did steal that Happy Meal, but I didn't think it would affect McDonald's. I mean, look how many Happy Meals they got.
I can't understand how we can say this over and over and over again, and there are no repercussions for this. There have been other people across the country, elected officials, a governor of Virginia, by the way, who has done this with no repercussions at all. And we have to get to a point.
Why?
Why? Because for some reason, they have had the ability to slide it on the rug and say, I'm sorry, it will never happen again. I was just honoring someone, or I was just making a joke, or I was just doing it, not thinking about the history of it. We've talked about the history. We've talked about where this comes from. But the problem is that there are a lot of folks around these individuals that just let it slide, Don't call them on this. And there is this sort of en masse effort to push it under the rug because at the end of the day, black folks should just get over it.
Now, this is an excellent point that almost never gets brought up about the people around the blackface, because we always focus on the individual with the shoe polish, but never the person cheesing next to the individual with the shoe polish, never the person who hosted the party filled with people with the shoe polish. Because I can tell you right now, if I hosted a party and somebody came in dressed very on the nose as Mulan, why would you do that? Huh? Why would you do that? Huh? Because now they're going to say that this the kind of party that I throw. And I'm definitely not taking a picture with you. And while we're on the topic, what's going on, New York? Huh? What's going on? New York, I love you. I have spent most of my adult life in New York City. Y'all haven't been the same since they took that Timberland boot down Broadway.
First day being back in New York and it's a fucking giant Tim on the back of a truck.
Y'all got the subway flooding. You got the mayor indicted on charges.
Big breaking news tonight. For the first time in the history of New York City, a sitting mayor has been indicted for crimes. ABC News reporting that Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
New York is where that lady working for RFK said she was just there to help Trump. Then there was George Santos.
George Santos acknowledged to a New York radio host that he told a string of lies about his education and employment history.
And I'm not going to make excuses for this, but a lot of people overstate in their resumes or twist a little bit or ingratiate themselves. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that.
In another interview with the New York Post, Santos admitted he did not have degrees from Baruch College and NYU, as he had claimed. I didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. I'm embarrassed and sorry. We do stupid things in life. He also admitted he never worked directly for Goldman Sachs or Citigroup. Santos also addressed scrutiny around his claims of Jewish heritage. On his campaign website, in a section now removed, he recalled his grandparents fleeing Jewish persecution during World War II. I am Catholic, he told the Post, because I learned my maternal family had a Jewish background. I said I was Jew-ish.
And then George Santos again.
George Santos was mobbed by reporters as he was kicked out of Congress today.
Do you have anything to say to your
He stormed out even before the vote to expel him was officially confirmed, climbing into a waiting car, his final defiant declaration, to hell with this place.
And then George Santos again.
Former New York Congressman George Santos has pleaded guilty to 2 federal felony counts in a Long Island courtroom today. The expelled New York lawmaker appeared in court this afternoon. This is video of him walking into the federal courthouse where no cameras are allowed. He was facing 23 felony counts. He pleaded guilty today to wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. The judge hearing the case estimated that Santos will face somewhere between 6 and 8 years in his sentencing later this year.
Now, in most states, 49 of them to be exact, George Santos would be the height of embarrassment and shame that you could offer us in the political arena. But not New York. George Santos ain't even the worst they got to offer. It's this one.
Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech
It's a yes or no question.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Now, I'm going to start screaming questions at these women like I'm Billy Eichner. Anti-Semitism, yay or nay?
How Elise Stefanik has come this far to October without me dragging her is insane. There isn't a single person on Capitol Hill who exudes more caring energy than Elise Stefanik. She got mad that nobody wanted to deal with her at her alma mater, Harvard, asked to speak to the manager to get the president fired, and then celebrated on social media. And while we're on the topic of things that I don't understand, why is there an epidemic of people dressing in blackface as Michael Jackson? Not Lamar Jackson, not Randy Jackson, but Michael Jackson. He should be the most melanin accessible black person that you could dress as. I know I could be young Mike. I know I could be teenage Mike. I know I could be adolescent Mike, in his 20s Mike. No. You have so many Mikes to choose from without needing the shoe polish, and you just had to go to young Mike. That's bad as going to blackface to dress up as Mariah Carey or Rachel Dolezal. I'm sorry, Nkechi Diallo. By the way, this is totally unrelated, but I have been wondering, you think Mark Robinson subscribed to Rachel Dolezal's OnlyFans? Huh? That wasn't me. I'm from Maryland. I was born in DC. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. That was Virginia. I'm not taking that L. Talking about we did blackface. Yes, there isn't a single state that changes as much as the state of Virginia as you move around it. But it was them whose governor, Ralph Northam, said he also dressed up in blackface as Michael Jackson in a 1980s dance contest.
That same year, I did participate in a dance contest in San Antonio, in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I look back now and regret that I did not understand the harmful legacy of an action like that.
This is actually much worse than it looks, because I'm not even going to show you who he was standing next to, but let's just say it was a lot of clear linens. It was a lot of clear linens next to him in this photo. Something that Woodrow Wilson would have been proud of. Virginia had it so bad, they had a whole racist blackface standoff. Like, yes, my opponent once used blackface. He clearly dehumanized black people. I bet you also did blackface. Yes, I also did blackface.
We begin this afternoon with breaking news out of Richmond. Another top Virginia Democrat admits to wearing blackface decades ago. That
was Attorney General Mark Herring, who also admitted to appearing in blackface at a 1980s party from his years at the University of Virginia. Virginia was a wild place. And you know what? That ain't even close. That's just scratching the surface of politicians and their love of blackface. There was Florida State Representative Anthony Sabatini, who dressed up as his best friend. Now, I don't know whether he's saying his best friend has a skin problem or he ran out of shoe polish. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. I'm also not sure if his best friend is African American or just dirty. That one is confusing here. There was Louisiana House candidate Robert Gaddy, who painted his face black and dressed like Tiger Woods for a church event. And the most confusing part of this is that he thought that Tiger Woods was an appropriate costume for a church event. I can tell you this, that is the closest that Tiger Woods has ever come to church, was that costume. Also, mind you, another person you don't need blackface for. There was South Carolina County Council candidate Brent Tomlinson, who dressed like a Jamaican bobsledder for a Halloween party. And I'll once again ask the question, is he black or is he just dirty? Like at this point, the blackface has just gotten lazy. Like you're not even using brown. Like what's going on? And also, why is it all over the other dude's chest and shirt? Like was that your palette that you used to put your blackface on as opposed to putting it directly on your face? You just put it all over the other dude's chest and just buried your face in his chest and his beard, apparently. There was Illinois State Senate candidate Hal Patton who dressed up as a black football player. One thing fascinating about this, it's generic but racist at the same time. You couldn't just be a football player. You had to be a black football player. Okay, I got it. The white ones, that was too basic. Like you had to be, he was like, I want to be a football player, but I got to use this bandana. Like I have to. It was either black football player or Jack Sparrow. Not to be outdone, New York State Assemblyman Dov Hikind dressed like a black basketball player for a Jewish holiday. What is this? Huh? I need to know what this is. Is he playing in the Penal League? Like, what uniform and jersey is that? Oh, he's making a social statement that all the black basketball players are in jail. Okay, all right. Now I got it. There was former Florida Secretary of State Mike Erdl who posed as a Hurricane Katrina victim at a Halloween party. Now those regular viewers of the channel know me well enough to know that my favorite kind of racism are the ones where you can play multiple choice with what is most offensive. Is it the blackface or the fact that he dressed up as a Hurricane Katrina victim? Man, Mike Erdl is lucky I didn't have this channel at that time. You know what? I might have to start doing throwback racist of the week just so I can drag him retroactively. But this was the one. The police department in Baton Rouge, Louisiana had to apologize after a yearbook photo showed two officers dressed in blackface as part of an undercover operation. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. No, it's not that I put it past the police. It's that it was for an undercover operation. Like they do years of training in order to blend in so they could go undercover. To do something as low rent as blackface with all the money that we spent. Like, it's not that I trust them too much to do it. I trust the money. We giving them too much money for them to be, huh? They got an actual report about it?
So it shouldn't surprise you that there is another example of people in blackface in the news today.
Oh, look at young Don Lemon.
CNN has obtained a 1993 police yearbook photo of two white Baton Rouge, Louisiana police officers dressed in blackface for an undercover field operation. You heard that right. Law enforcement officers dressed in blackface for an official police operation, with their pictures then proudly printed in a yearbook. The caption of the photo doesn't mention the nature of that operation. It just says, Soul Brothers, somehow making the whole thing even more bizarre. The current Baton Rouge police chief, in a statement, confirmed that the officers were working in an undercover capacity. The local newspaper, it's called The Advocate, first published the yearbook photo. And thanks to their reporting back in 1993, we have an article detailing exactly what happened. The article says officers were initially made up in blackface to conduct a sting operation. That operation targeted people in Baton Rouge attempting to buy drugs. One of the officers in blackface even boasted to the newspaper about his racist disguise. He said, not only do they not know we're cops, they don't even know we're white. And yes, there is no way anyone could have missed that these were, in fact, not black people. I mean, make no mistake, these cops were proud of what they did. That's why it is right there in that yearbook.
I wouldn't have believed it. I would not have believed it. Look, forget being offended. I want my money back. I want a refund. Huh? If I'm paying money into their coffers, and that's where they're going to. I'm surprised they not just going to the party store and putting masks on to go undercover. Now, that story is exactly the kind of thing that I covered on this channel for years before I started making these daily videos. So I would like to present to you a younger, more innocent, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Reese Waters. Though I've explained this before and I hate having to do this explanation, you can check out my short for more information, but let's talk about blackface. All right, minstrel shows made money all over the country featuring performers in blackface, mocking black people for the amusement of white audiences. Blackface performers were mostly white actors wearing black makeup with exaggerated features like giant red lips and bugged out eyes, depicting black people as lazy, stupid, cowardly, and hypersexual. Blackface began as a form of theater around the 1830s. By 1845, it was so popular that it spurred its own industry, which apparently is alive and well. See, this is what happened when you take an oversensitive hatchet job to history. This country's crazy, huh? They got it in Canada too?
There is no escaping this. No way to put Justin Trudeau's racist Aladdin costume back in the bottle. For several decades, Trudeau has managed to keep this quiet. All of it, another political crisis he created himself through his own actions, his own poor judgment.
Did Trudeau at least apologize?
I've taken responsibility for it, for having made a real mistake in the past. I stand here, before Canadians, as I will throughout this campaign, and talk about the work we have to do to make a better country together. And I'm going to continue to stay focused on that and continue to work to fight intolerance and discrimination, even though, obviously, I've made a mistake in the past.
Okay, well, I mean, that's unfortunate, but it sounds like he learned his... What? He did it again?
And now we know he's worn brown or blackface at least 2 other times. This was in 2001. He was 29 and a teacher at a private school in Vancouver. This is him in high school in Montreal. He wore blackface and sang the Harry Belafonte song, Deo.
I mean, what can he possibly say to this one?
There is that third video that came to light today, which has been submitted to Global News. It's the third incident. It is the fourth image, one could say, and there it is there. So we're waiting to see. We haven't heard Justin Trudeau address this video. It's only 4 seconds in length, given exclusively to Global News, and the Liberals have acknowledged that it is him in that video. So we'll wait and see what he has to say about that.
Prime Minister, going back to the video that was obtained by Global News, you mentioned last week that it was during a during your time at the Whitewater rafting expedition, and it was a costume day. What exactly was that costume?
I am continuing to be open with Canadians about the mistake I made. This is something that I take responsibility for. This is something that I should have known better, but didn't. And I will continue to work every day to fight racism, to fight discrimination, to fight intolerance in this country.
With all due respect, Prime Minister, that wasn't even close to answering the question. What was that costume?
I have been open with Canadians. I will continue to be open with Canadians. I will continue to fight racism and intolerance every day. I take responsibility for the terrible mistakes I made in the past and commit to continue to fight against racism and intolerance every day.
Wow. Wow. No accountability. He out here dodging like Laura Trump. Canadians, they're just like us. If you want to be real, I actually don't have as big a problem with people putting on blackface as long as you keep it for a suitable amount of time. Yeah, we're not doing the 1 and 2 hours. No, we doing the 1 and 2 weeks. No, not just, you don't just get the black experience at the party. No, why don't you go ahead and have the black experience going home for the party? Why don't you have the black experience going in and trying to get that home loan, or that black experience where you going and talking to your boss and getting your annual review? That is a black experience that I feel like could bring us all closer together. I wore blackface for 6 days and I got arrested 3 times. We told you about that. We told you about that. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I very much appreciate the support. And as I mentioned previously, we got membership now. Yes, it was something that that you guys suggested, and a suggestion that I took and moved forward with. And it's something I'm really super excited about. That's going to give me the ability to give people early access to videos and ad-free experience, and also be able to record things on the go when I'm not necessarily in my perfect environment. I have something I just want to drop in real quick. I have the ability to do that. The ability to give you guys deep dive investigation pieces, some of the stuff that may not necessarily be topical, but stuff that deserves your attention. And of course, some of the uncensored content as well, because Lord knows the kind of stuff that I have to cut out of my videos can make pieces in and of themselves. Well, now I have the ability to do all of that. So sincere thank you to everybody that has joined the channel already. I can't wait to see where this goes.